footy! Hi! Wow, I loot! Wow! Tingnan mo doon, Roman! Ito is footy! Wow, tingnan mo sanda!
Cioè, qui è un lago, cioè quello si è aperto completamente. Completamente.
Experts warn that the Mediterranean region is becoming increasingly vulnerable to such storms. In the recent report by European Environmental Agency, Sicily was identified as a climate hotspot facing rising sea levels, heat waves and now extreme rainfall. As the sky begins to clear, attention turned to recover. Damage assessment, no ongoing to questions are being raised about the urban planning drainage system and early warning protocols. But for many Sicilians, healing will take no longer. As a Giuliano Manga, whose home was destroyed, it said with the tears here years. We survived but not lost everything. Now we have started all over again. Meanwhile, firefighters from all over Italy were sent to reinforce refuse force. Social media is flooded with the images in dramatic rescue operations. Children begin lifted from rooftops, elderly people begin to carry out throughout the waist deep water and pain being saved from the daunting. The hashtag Sicilia Scotta Aqua will become popular throughout the country. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni expressed solidarity with the region, promising no community will be left without the help. We will rebuild our support every affected family. A powerful storm hit Sicily. Italy caused severe weather conditions that resulted in widespread destruction across the island. The storm, characterized by heavy rain, gale force winds, led to widespread flooding, power outage and extensive damage to infrastructure. Local authorities report that the crises of Catania and Palermo have been hit by hardest hit. In Catania, streets turned into rivers, and water level rose in 3 during heats. The historic city center, which is usually turned to tourists, is now eerily quiet. Emergency service tried to cope with the field. Video shared on social media showed cars submerged and residents walking throughout the waist-deep water. The meteorological service has recorded widespread up to 100 km/h, which further agriculture to situation. Trees have been uprooted, roofs have been ripped off buildings, and debris is scattered to roadway, making the travel dangerous. The regional government has issued a red alert, urging residents to stay at home and avoid unnecessary travel. In Palermo, the storm led to similar extent to chaos. In local airport was temporarily closed due to flooding of runway, leading to flight cancellation and delays. The small town of Al-Balif in province of Como was left in shock after severe hailstorm hit the area on a Monday evening, covering streets, cars and roofs with ice balls with the size of walnuts in some areas tennis ball. The storm, which lasted less than half an hour, caused significant damage but struck locals with a sudden ferocity. Residents describe it chaotic stints and roads turned wild in a matter of minutes, forcing cars to stop. It was like an attack, where the hail was so strong that it broke roofs, totaled and damaged cars in a second. American St. Maria County, a shop owner in the city center. Several houses has broken windows and emergency service received dozens of calls for help. Firefighters worked throughout the night and cleared fallen branches to secure damaged roofs, with the local farmers reported significant crops losers, especially in vineyards and orange weather, were weeks away from the harvest. Agriculture Association estimated the damage of hundreds of thousands of euros. Videos posted online show the streets Albaville resembling frozen river, with the drain overflowing with the sudden rush in water and ice. Public transport were the disruption throughout the province of Como, and temporarily enclosures were put up in place to prevent accidents. Meteorologists explained the phenomenon as a result in a sharp rise in hot, humid air against the cold front moving from the northern Italy, and the collisions that can cause severe thunderstorm and hail. Experts also noted that climate change is increasing both with the frequency and severity of such events throughout the region. Local authority urged residents to check instability in their roofs and vehicles, and the major promised rapid assistance to those affected. Albaville was faced many storms, but this was one of the worst in recent years. We support our community in the recovery, he said. For the many residents of the province of Como, the storm was stark reminder of the unpredictability of nature, and the growing challenge is adapting to weather conditions. Italy is grappling with a severe flooding after days of relentless rain, particularly affected with the northern regions of the country. Torrential downpour have caused rivers to swell, boost their banks, and inundate towns and villages. This latest episode of flooding has left authorities struggling to cope with the growing crisis, with thousands of people evacuated from their homes. The region of Emilia-Romagna, Lombardy, and Veneto have been among the hardest hit. In Emilia-Romagna, widespread damage to infrastructure have been reported, with the roads submerged, brunt washed away, and homes flooded. Several rivers, including the Po, the Angel, have reached critical levels, forcing emergency service to respond rapidly to prevent further damage. The situation has been compounded with landslides and hilly areas, blocked roads, and isolated communities. In Venice, the city is too familiar to high water levels. Flood definitions were put the test. The iconic most barriers designed to protect the city with the rising tides were activated shelters to mitigate the Venice from the significant damage. However, other areas in the region were not so fortunate. Many towns and villages in Veneto region saw extensive flooding, with the residents forced to fare the higher ground. In Palermo, emergency service responded more than 14 calls in one night. More than 120 homes were reportedly flooded in historic districts of Calza and Balero. In the town of Agern and Mount Etna, landslides to the evacuation more than 17 residents, while the rescue volunteers injured several persons. Power outage affected nearly 30,000 homes. An emergency company, Aeneas, sent dozens of repair crews on the island. Rain severe between Catania and Syracuse was suspended, and yet Falcon Belen Airport. 15 flights were delayed or diverted due to heavy rain, and a wind gust exceeded 19 km/h. Sicily, Italy's largest island, has been hit one of the strongest storms in the recent times. One of the night of June 27, several weather warnings brought more than 180 mm of rainfall in just 20 hours, more than the region usually received in entire month. This was hit area where Palermo, Catania, Anginda, and Messina were the hardest hit. Authorities confirmed that at least 3 people died as a result of the flooding electrocutions. Among the victims was a 45-year-old man from the town of Bianzivaga, who was trapped in this car where sudden flooding inundated in Lombardy and presented. The land were deepened on the gas field destroyed it. Power outage left more than 400,000 homes in the dark. Rail service were suspended and Palermo airport was severely disrupted. Businesses encountered millions of losers with tourism, agriculture and fishing particularly hard hit. Sicily famous citrus groves, olive trees and vineyards were flooded, raising fears to flood and shortage. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni declared the flooding a national emergency, promising immediate funding to military support. We stand with the Sicily, she said. European Union officials also pledged to assist with the barriers linking to the disaster and urgent need to action on climate change. Experts warn that climate change is intensifying on severe Mediterranean storms, and warning seas are contributing to more intense rainfall. Dr. Rilan Rossi, a climatologist, said. What we are seeing in Sicily, a venial future is urgent action to take no taking. As the water begins to rescind, thousands of people forced to blindfold dust to buildings. Standing outside her destroyed homes in Palermo, survivor Rosa Ferraro said with the tears in her eyes, "The Sicilians are strong, but the storm was broken our heart."
Yapışmışsın diye yere yapıştırıyorum. Ama eğer çalışıyorsa tabii.
Sicily, normally bridge collapsed, looks at the dew blow from the narrow fields and when green groups are now fast to swell through the molten water. Environmental warning in addition to human casualties, entire ecosystem have been temporarily destroyed. In the city of Noto, residents placed candles and the steps of historic cathedral in memory of the victims. Local priests helped open air masses in a flooded courtyard, calling the stretch and the unity. One of the Syrians, Lucia Manso, said, "We lost our beginnings, but not each other. The most important things." Meanwhile, the Italian army remained the standby with more than 400 soldiers destroyed across the isolated to clear debris, reinforce river banks to deliver aid to remove vigilantes. The EU has also experienced its support. A team from the US Civil Protection Mechanism has been sent to coordinate with the Italian authority, increasing the livelihood of international funding to support long-term recovery. Scientists emphasize this is only a high bridge of may become normal. Southern Europe is especially by the Mediterranean basin is becoming increasingly vulnerable to extreme weather events that the climate change accelerates. The Italian government has declared a state of emergency in the several regions, mobilized rescue workers and deployed the army to aid the evacuation force. Civil Protection Authority have urged people in the affected areas to remain cautious to need official warning to forecast in coming days. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni visited the affected areas and presented their solidarity with the victims and pledged government support to reconstruction efforts. This is a national emergency and we are working closely with the local authorities to ensure the safety of all residents, she said. Climate experts warn that such extreme weather events become more frequent due to climate change. Italy, with a varied geography, is particularly vulnerable in the affected changing weather patterns. The combination of heavy rainfall, property, maintained infrastructure, and urban explosion into flood-prone areas in exact path and the impact of the recent storms.
Allah! Allah! Allah yardım et! Allah yardım et! Allah yardım et!
A powerful powerful storm hit Sicily, plunging part of the Italian island into chaos as torrential rain, strong winds and a flash flood swept through the Key skies, including Palermo, Catania and Messina. According to Italy's Civil Protection Department, the storm dumped more than 120 mm of rain in just a few hours, nearly a month's worth, flooding streets, collapsing roads and prompting dozens of evacuations. Emergency service responded more than 300 calls using helicopters to board the rescue trapped residents. In Palermo, dramatic footage showed cars flooding like toys and shops in the historic center of flooding. Giulia Romana, a 42-year-old local resident, said, "It was terrible. The water rushed into our house in a matter of minutes. The barrier had time to move the upper floor. Schools were closing in affected regions, and hundreds of people were left without power due to power outage." Authority also reported temporarily closed to Catania airport. The rail runway were flooded, caused delays and cancellations. Meteorologists explained the extreme weather conditions as a mitigant to rare Mediterranean hurricane formed by high sea temperature and unstable air masses.